Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this one, we're going to talk about the calendar that we made in the last video and how we can make it simpler to use. And also, we're going to introduce you to something that could possibly be quite mind-blowing for people who've just stuck with really basic, really basic Ren'Py script thus far. This is a great way of making your code more Pythonic whilst at the same time reducing the amount of code that you need to put within your Ren'Py. And what we're going to do for this is we're going to go to the file that we created within the scripts folder. I know it's called events.rpy, but it doesn't matter for now. And what we're going to do is we're just going to remove this for now, and we're going to create an init Python block. So we call init Python. And what this is telling Ren'Py or Python is that we want this block to be carried out during the game's initialization when the game starts up. And the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new class. And classes are a great way of allowing us to create objects within the game that perhaps we have more than one of. So for example, if we wanted to create an inventory and have items, or if we wanted to create multiple characters that will have very similar traits, then we can create a class and then we can create an instance of that class for each individual person or item. But in the case of the clock, what we want to do is we want to create a clock class so that we can reference it and print out whatever we want to from it without having to constantly retype loads and loads of code. So the first thing we need to do is we need to type in class, and we're going to call this calendar, and it needs to inherit from the object class, and then we're going to add colon. Now we need to type define underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and then we need to create some properties for that. And what we're saying is that we've created the calendar, and now when we initialize, anytime that this calendar class is initialized, we need to give it the following properties. The first one has to be self always. Then the next one we want to give it is hours, and we can actually copy and paste our variables from the script.rpy here. So we want all of these properties. So we want hours, days, months, minutes. And we'll give it hour as well. Month, and then month, hours, days, months. Do we want to put minutes into it now? Well, no, we don't really. Now we just need weekdays and month days. And that's all we need, if I remember correctly. Let's just double check. We've got hours, we have got minutes there, but we'll skip that for now. Months, days, months, weekdays. Coolio. So now we need to assign some properties to this class. We've given it that. Now we need to say for each of these properties, self.hour equals hour, self.hours equals hours. It doesn't matter what order you put these in, by the way. Self.days equals days, self.day equals day, self.month equals month, self.months equals months, self.weekdays equals weekdays, month days equals month days. like so. So that's our class created. And now we need to assign some logic to this class so that we can call on functions within the class, for want of a better way of putting it. So for example, we can give it a new property by saying property, and this is a decorator that you have to give before you define a property. So, and we're going to call this output. Oh, you nearly forgot to put self in. And now all we have to do is come back to our script and put this code. I won't control X that, I'll just copy that for now. And we just say return. And that should self.weekdays. This may not work, we'll find out momentarily. And then we don't need minutes because we haven't put minutes in, so we can just take that out. So we can actually test this code simply by running the code and then just printing calendar.output. So let's do that and let's just see what happens, because we may have made an error here. I've typed pretty quickly. It's entirely possible that. So we go into our developer console and we type print calendar.output. There is an object there. We need to actually create an object. So we need to fill out some default variable values for that before we do any more. So at least we know it's created the class, which is step 1. So that's returning our output string. Let's have a look. So now we need to create a method, a class method that adds to our hours. So we need to go define, and we're just going to go increment. No, let's not. Let's just make it easier. Add time, and then we'll put in self dot hours, and then we simply put self, and now we can copy that logic from before here. We need to copy this, and we can pop that now into here, and we'll just have to make some changes to it obviously, but so we don't need minutes at all, so we can just say hours plus equals self.hours plus equals hours. So what we're going to create is a method by which we can say add time, and then we put a number in the brackets that tells the game how many hours to add. Then we'll add hours. If hours is greater than equal to 23, hours minus equals 24. So if we are at 11 o'clock and we add 6 hours, it'll go to 5 o'clock rather than going straight to 0. And then we'll add day and days. So we just need to change these into instanced properties rather than the Pythonic variables. If self.day is greater than 6, self.day equals 0. And as you can see, the rest of the logic is literally just copy and pasted And now we can add time to our clock, in theory anyway. Now then, what we need to do at the start of our script here is we need to just create a new code. So we're going to just delete this and we'll put our click back in. But before the game does anything else, what we need to do here is create a new clock. So we're going to create a calendar, but we're going to create it with a small c because capital C is the name of our class, equals calendar. And now we need to check our variables, copy that across, and we're going to pop that into here. So we know that the time is 0, 0, 0, 0. Now months is a list, so we're going to copy that over into there. Like so. And the month itself is 0. Weekdays is another list, so we need to copy that across and put that into there. And then month days is also a list, so we need to copy that and pop that into there. So we've now created a calendar which has all of the following variables. So now in theory, we should be able to add, let me just double check what we've named that method, add time. And because we're now back in Ren'Py code, we need to put the pound sign onto it. So we need to go calendar dot add time brackets 1. And then we need to come to our screens.rpy. In fact, we'll make life even easier on ourselves and leave the screen code alone. And we'll simply come back into our script and we will say Ren'Py output with a capital O equals calendar dot output. And let's see if that runs. This is where all kinds of problems would normally come arise. Yes, so month days is not defined with a small d. Month days with a small d is not defined, which is what we're calling for up here. So we go to our events.rpy. Yep. So we've got self.monthdays there, but actually month days. So we've got a small d somewhere in our code for month days. Let's have a look. Weekdays, month days with a small d. In fact, let's run it again and see where that error was. That's probably the most sensible thing to do. So it's in events.rpy line 11. So it's in our init block. There you go. And there was a small d there all along. Now let's see if that works. So that's another example of why we should be very careful about our typing our cases. Okay, so name output is not defined. That is, yes, so what we're saying now is in our screen code, the variable output is not defined, which means that we've got a problem in here. This is not good. So let's try going into our screen code, find our say screen, and let's just try and change this to calendar.output. And we'll even try and do that. So let's see what happens now. Calendar has now attribute weekdays. So this is again, it's a good bit of fault finding. Events.rpy line 15 So right, yes, okay. More case sensitivity trouble. This is why it's always good to proofread your code and test run it as you go along. So what we're saying is that weekdays is lowercase, and we're trying to reference a capital D here. So the most sensible thing to do is to, because we do like to keep our code more readable, so we've just changed that now. So this should now reference that all fine. Okay, so there you go. And when we click, it now adds an hour to our time. When it gets to there, as you can see, it's not doing the logic checks to increment the day and the hour. So we need to now look at that. If hours, and that's the reason why we haven't put self there, self hours equals greater than 23. Lovely job. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put minutes back in, because that time looks weird without anything there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to add double zeros to the end of that to make sure that that works. We click on start. So there you go, the time looks a bit more normal now. When we get to midnight, it ticks over, same as before. As you can see, it ticks along. And you might be thinking to yourself, right, so we're back to square one. What was the point in all of that? Well, now I'm going to show you. So we come back to our script RPY. We can now delete all of that gibberish there. We can get rid of that line there. And because we've now defined this calendar in our variables, we've now set ourselves up to use the calendar in a more Pythonic way. We can create methods that say checking for event times. So we can actually remove this and put that into our class so that all we have to type in is a very simple line of code. But also we can change the amount of hours that we add really easily. So if I wanted to add 4 hours each time we click the mouse, launch the project, start. Oh, hours is not defined. Where are we here? And that is in script line 25. Oh yeah, that's our event check. Silly me, I forgot to remove that. There you go. So now we're adding 4 hours each time. And what this allows us to do is now if we were to have, say, a piece of dialogue that we wanted to last 4 hours, we could simply just put this line at the end of that particular piece of dialogue and it would add 4 hours to our clock. And all of the game logic is taken care of within the class, so we don't have to worry about messing around with it or anything like that. That's all taken care of for us. In the next video, we'll take a little bit more of an advanced look into classes and see what we can do. But I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video.